Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying what you are hearing. Now, on to today's story. A year since D-Day has finally arrived. Need support. I don't have anybody in my life still around who has gone through infidelity before, so I'm turning to this subreddit. It's been nearly a year this month since D-Day, and I just need a place to talk about it and where I am today. I'm sorry this is so long. This is a highly abridged version of events, but just for some backstory, I, 33M, had known her my entire life and grew up with her as best friends. She helped me get through my own parents' divorce after my mother cheated on my father, twice. In college, we started to develop feelings for each other, and began a relationship. 6 years later, we both graduated from college and moved around a bit, we got married, and were so happy. We traveled around the world, our families became intertwined, and it was amazing to be so in love. After having a rough and abusive childhood, I couldn't believe that my life had turned out the way it did, and I felt so incredibly lucky. I remember rushing home every day from work, excited to see the look on her face when I walked through the door. And then one day, she acted cold and distant, just like my mother did to my father. Being able to recognize betrayal is the greatest gift my mother never wanted to give me. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I gave her space for a week, until I came home one day to her where she was a sobbing mess on the couch, confessing to have had an emotional affair with a family friend of hers. I didn't know what to think or feel, and was in immediate shock. I didn't tell anyone. Instead, I was young and stupid. Having grown up with her, seeing her in tears immediately brought me back to how she'd run to me when her stepfather abused her. I wanted the pain to go away, and so I swept it under the rug. She expressed what appeared to be remorse and regret, and went no contact with her AP. We never talked about it again, and our lives had returned back to normal. Looking back on it now, I don't know how I continued to trust her. Fast forward about 5 years later, March 2020. The pandemic had just hit the US, and everyone who could started working from home. Once I started, her cold and distant behavior returned almost overnight. I'll spare all the details, but when I asked her what was going on, I was gaslit and told I needed to seek therapy. That I was paranoid. That there was something wrong with me. That I was acting weird. This kept up for 2 weeks until I was able to get my hands on her phone and confirm that it was not only emotional, but physical as well. She had been seeing her married co-worker. I kicked her out, told her I'd be filing divorce ASAP, and she moved in with him, and still does. I've been no contact with her since, except to file our taxes jointly, where I requested and received her tax documents. Unfortunately, the state I live in requires an entire year of separation before legal work can begin. I can't begin to explain how hard it is to let someone go you've known nearly your entire life. It feels worse than a death. I have 2 months to go until the divorce will be completed. As for today, my life has had some changes since. I went to therapy every other week for 7 months. My therapist was great, and while it helped some, I ended up stopping once I ran out of things to talk about. Each session eventually ended up being a rehash of the previous one. Moved to a new city. Got a new higher paying job with better benefits. Bought my dream car. Started journaling. Learned to bake different kinds of bread. Picked skateboarding back up for the first time since I was a teenager. Made a whole new group of friends. Developed an exercise routine, and began eating better. Went on more vacations, safely, that is, than ever before. Became close with my sister, who is now my best friend. Completely changed my clothes and look nicer. Went from £162 to £128 for the first time in my life. After having grown up as an insecure nerd, I've had complete strangers regularly compliment my appearance. Despite all this, I completely broke down tonight. Just ugly sobbed into my hands until my face hurt. I reminded myself that healing isn't linear, but this ducking sucks. My own mind feels like a prison that I can't escape, and as hard as I've tried to erase her, I can't. I don't miss her, but I miss us. I miss intimacy. I miss sex. I miss having someone to care for, hold, and make breakfast for. All of this still feels like a nightmare that hasn't ended. Over the past month I started to have dreams of her every other night, and I wake up angry at myself for it. I keep asking myself why this is happening now. Last week, I decided to dip my toe into online dating, which might have been a mistake. After reading what must have been over 1,000 profiles, I don't think I've ever felt so alone from the rest of the human race. Just, Jesus tap dancing Christ is all I can say. Given our history together, I feel like nobody will ever understand me the way she did, and the idea of finding a new person just seems so insurmountable. I've thought about going back to therapy, but I don't know what to talk about that hasn't already been said a million times before. So, that's about it, I guess. Tomorrow's a new day. Thanks for reading if you've made it this far. I think you're more ready to date than you think. It seems overwhelming, and that part of you has been turned off for so long but forces yourself to go on a date. I think you just need that experience. It all seems so overwhelming now, so start small. Go on one date. See how it makes you feel. Focus on your emotions and how you interact with someone of the opposite sex. I agree with this. It took me a while cause it all hurt at first. I was able to connect to someone who is emotionally intelligent, and it makes you appreciate things. You got this? I agree too, but don't go in expecting the date to replace what you had. Just enjoy meeting someone new. I started to date, and right away I found myself not enjoying the date simply because they couldn't measure up to the intimacy I used to have. It's way easier when you go in with adjusted expectations. Besides, it would be weird if anyone could measure up to such a long relationship on a first per second date. You don't have to replace your ex in order to move on. I know mine, for everything we put each other through, will always have a place in my heart. You deserve to be happy, though, so give yourself a chance for a brighter future. I agree too, but don't go in expecting the date to replace what you had. Just enjoy meeting someone new. You don't have to replace your ex in order to move on. These two things right here. Get yourself back out there. Here's a trick: don't think of it as dating, think of it as getting acquainted. Think of it as practice for socializing and making yourself available mentally and emotionally. Go on dates with multiple people, but don't concern yourself with commitment. Instead, try to enjoy the experience, in the moment, rather than making it about trying to find another intimate, long-term relationship. You will never replace your first real love. But you don't need to. Besides, that person ended up not being worth it, so that's not someone you want to replace anyway. Instead, go into it with the mindset of just getting my feet wet and retraining your brain to let others in, and enjoy some new companionship, even if it ends up only being one date with this person, one date with that person. Here's the thing. No one knows me like her, or whatever the wording was that you used, will eventually be wrong. Even though many will spout this phrase that people don't change, the fact is, as you get older, you will be refining yourself, reinventing yourself, and making subtle changes over time. The person you are now is not the person you were in high school or college, and you will be somewhat different 10, 15, 20 years from now. There's plenty of time for someone new to get to know you as you are now, and learn everything about you as you go forward. Meanwhile, Your ex will not know the you that emerges 5 years from now. Look at the changes you've already made. She wouldn't even know this guy all that well. Besides, the guy she knows allowed her to walk all over him and cheat on him twice. She ceased to know you the moment you decided you'd had enough and dropped her. You'll be okay, bro. It will take time, especially after having the relationship you had with her. The key word here is had. While there is no set timetable for grief, whether that's from the death of a loved one, or the death of a relationship, so even if when you decide to make a real effort to put yourself back out there, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Take your time, ease your way back into dating. Once you get past the initial trepidation, you may find you enjoy the adventure, meeting new people, learning things about yourself as well as others, gaining some new social skills, and occasionally having a train wreck date that will make a great, entertaining story in the future. Lol, just remember, putting yourself back out there does not mean you need to pursue anything serious immediately. I wish you luck, my man. Awesome response and one to pay attention to, for me. Thanks. Been there, what you are going through is normal. They say it takes 2 to 5 years to heal. It took me about 4 years to be completely indifferent. You are taking all the right steps. Be patient with yourself. You just went through the most traumatic experience one can encounter. The fact you are getting through this shows you can overcome anything life can throw your way. Took me 3 years. Worth it in the end. I read that men take 3 to 5 years and women just take 2 years. Apparently it is true, shore's for me. 5 years for me. Probably correct. I know I'll get the usual vitriol, but men connect differently. I saw a couple tears from my ex-wife, but no, it's not the same. This. You're doing everything right. Don't let one minor setback deter you from realizing that. You will always have bad days. Certain dates or certain things, a song, a smell, a place, will trigger it. Process it. Ugly, cry it out. And then continue to make yourself the best human you can be. Best of luck. Stay strong, buddy, you will get through this. Your divorce dragging on is a burden. You cannot unclip that final last bond. That is what this is about. Anyone wants closure. As to dating. Again, everyone is different and some dive in immediately, but the clever ones take their time. You were cheated on. It's hurtful, emasculating and just plain heartbreaking and painful. 365 days and you achieved so much. I think you missed the security of the relationship. Once you're free, the rest will come over time. You are free with no kids, bud. You have no reason to see her ever again after the divorce is final. There's guys and girls here that need to see their cheater weekly for years. Having to talk to them. Sorting out co-parenting as they fall through one F-up after another. Look at the glass half full. You have a lot to be thankful for. If you have a new relationship, you will be free. Over time, memory fades. Her loving, caring married partner now has to deal with her. He deserves her and you need to heal and in time move on. Do not minimize this. It's big, but also do not let the doldrums push you into depression. You are a get up and go guy with what you have done. You cannot unclip that final last bond. That is what this is about. I think this is basically it. Every month that goes by, I will automatically count down the remaining months. I'll check in with myself to see how I've been doing. The summer and fall months of 2020 weren't so bad at all, mainly because I kept thinking I still had a ways to go and there was no point in despairing. And now that the finish line is in sight, I'm concerned that I might not have moved on at all. I don't think I've ever been so fixated on something over such a long period of time before, as it's something that's out of my control. Thanks for the kind reply. Concentrate on you. Set goals. Every second you waste thinking of her, you waste your life. Let her enjoy her, use her and discard her. Go on. The bad thing is she used you. Two cheaters do not work. A cheater is an abuser by nature. They need a non-cheater to latch to. Two cheaters are like magnets of the same polarity pushed together. Give yourself 2 years to get through this, trust me. Everything will be fine, trust me on that. Detach from her. The subconscious is a weird thing, it keeps exact dates and events and reminds you. For me it was the 10 days leading up to the anniversary of my son's death. I felt incredibly down and could not pinpoint it until the anniversary day. It was like living in a gloomy cloud for 10 days. My answer was to have a recurring event in my phone diary so that it warns me every year and I can move over it. It was also the catalyst to the end of my marriage, so it means more than what you read here. All that being said, I am impressed by your life since D-Day, congratulations. Of course you will have relapses, do not kick yourself over having them, they slowly disappear over 3 to 5 years, yep, they say men take 3 to 5. The first year is the worst, the anniversaries and public holidays etc. You are actually doing very well. Perhaps put this anniversary in your phone calendar like I did, with about 10 days warning, so that you are prepared for the upcoming anniversary. Then you can plan to have new memories on that date, things to make you smile. Stay no contact, that is the key to it all. The subconscious is a weird thing, it keeps exact dates and events and reminds you. It's the worst. It happens every month. She moved out on the 26th. Every 26th day, I'm subconsciously reminded of it, and that original day plays back in my head. Perhaps put this anniversary in your phone calendar like I did, with about 10 days warning, so that you are prepared for the upcoming anniversary. Yeah, I'll do that, and possibly leading up to the 26th of each month, and see how it goes. Thanks for the advice. You're doing everything right. My only concern is your weight. 128 pounds, seems awfully skinny for a man of normal height, even if it is considered healthy by standard BMI charts, which don't account for the fact that men typically have more muscle than women the same height, and therefore should weigh more. The average woman in your age group outweighs you by around 40 to 50 pounds, and probably will be self-conscious dating a much skinnier guy. But then, some guys carry their weight, skinny or fat, better than others, so I'm in no position to judge. Other than that, give yourself another year at least, to recover. As for no other woman understanding you as well as your ex, would you rather be understood from afar or loved without restriction by the woman in bed next to you? You're right to be concerned. I had suspected someone might have noticed it was the odd item out. I need to go talk to a doctor about it. I've left out a lot of details regarding comments that my ex made to me regarding my original weight, that has contributed to this. Would love to hear your wife's comments about your weight, since I weighed significantly less than my wife and almost every woman I dated before her. And, no, I didn't date whales. Just big-boned, well-proportioned plus-sized women with Anna Nicole Smith-style figures without implants. Other way around for me. She was very much underweight and knew it. I went from 115 pounds to 162 pounds over 4 years after we married. A couple times a month she'd make a comment about how I was gaining too much and needed to cut back. She wasn't happy with her own weight by any means. Once D-Day happened, I felt the need to lose whatever I could, combined with the fact that I didn't want to end up like a lot of my co-workers who had gained so much weight during quarantine. Seeing the number drop on the scale every couple weeks subconsciously makes me think I'm making progress toward getting over everything that happened. I don't have anorexia or bulimia, I just seem to burn a crazy amount of calories/fat when I work out and should see someone about it. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Have an awesome day or night. Wherever you are.